Hi guys, Dave Pavia here. I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist. Today I'm going to go over an active dynamic warm-up with you, or at least the main stretch pieces that you can use to include a lower body active dynamic warm-up. Basically what that means is it's kind of a non-stop moving type of way to warm up prior to any athletic activity. So prior to these warm-up exercises, what you'd want to do is basically some type of 5 maybe to 10 minute light cardio prior to doing these stretches on either a lower body day, or if you're an athlete, getting out there and performing in your sport. Our first exercise is going to be a basic bodyweight squat. I think for the most part, this should be part of every active dynamic warm-up that you do. Start with your feet hip to shoulder width apart. Sit down. It's a deep squat, all right, because it's a stretch, right? We're trying to get a stretch. This is a stretch for some people. So a deep squat. All right, not going to go over a ton of details on all these things, but I'm going to run through them for you guys so you guys can see the basic stretch routine itself. The next one is a lunge and arch. We're going to do this first lunge and arch with a bent knee in the back. So you're going to lunge forward, tilt that pelvis forward, double arm overhead reach, drive that hip forward, and really pull back with the shoulders. Try not to hyperextend your lower back, all right? So bring that hip through, drive that hip through, arms overhead reach, and pull back. The next exercise that I'm going to do is an elbow instep stretch for your groin and your hip flexors and your hamstrings, depending on how tight you are. All right, so keeping your knee and ankle in alignment. You're going to start in this position, keeping the back leg elevated or bent on the ground, depending on flexibility. Drop that chest towards the floor or that elbow towards the ground on the inside. So hands are inside, reaching that elbow towards the floor. Really try not to strain your neck or anything, just to get to the floor. Really going for a deep stretch, again, in the groin and hamstring. Hip flexor if you're tight there. And from the side view. You can stand up in between these, or you can stay in that plank position. All right, next one, guys, is going to be a three-way adductor or groin stretch. Take your feet much wider than hip to shoulder width apart. Bring your hands down, legs straight, toes straight ahead as well. Bring your hands down to the ground if you can. If you can't, don't worry about it. Sit down to one leg, keeping that leg straight, toe pointed straight ahead, this toe pointed straight ahead, heels on the ground, back to the middle, and alternating back and forth. Just go to a comfortable depth. Remember, everybody's flexibility is a little different. All right, the next exercise is called an inchworm. We're going to do it walking the toes up, stretching our calves and our hamstrings, as well as a little lower back stretch and hip flexor stretch with some hip extension. All right, so watching me. Start in your plank position, inch your toes up slowly, keeping your legs locked out straight, paying attention to that. You can step back, pressing that hip to the floor. Step back, pressing your hip to the floor, keeping the glutes engaged. That'll be an inchworm. The next stretch is an inverted hamstring stretch. I'm going to demo this from a side view. There's a lot of things going on here, but you're going to want to control your pelvis as well as the bend in the knee. You're also going to be single leg hinging, so this is a little complicated for some people. But again, watching me, balancing on one leg, pivot that leg back. Your hands can reach out towards the ground, towards the front of the room. Pivot through, and you're going to add a little bit of a stretch into that. And if you get really good at stabilizing at the hip and at the ankle, go ahead and add a little bit of a swing to that stretch. Try your best not to open up your hip too much, right? It may open up a little, it really depends on, again, your flexibility. Hey guys, our next stretch is going to be a pigeon. We're going to be doing this up on a table or a bench, right? I happen to have a table right here, so that works too. All right, you're going to throw that foot up on that table, on that bench. Ideally, if you can, the shin parallel with the top of the table or the bench, but start in a 45-degree angle depending on your flexibility. Some people are going to have trouble just getting in this position. All right, you can drop that knee down and sit down into that stretch, flowing in and out of that a little bit. Again, a couple different variations of this stretch, a lot of different ways to do a pigeon, but that's definitely part of that warm-up routine. This next series of exercises, I call ground mobility. There's a lot of different variations of these. I know I said that again, but keep in mind there's a lot of variations. These are the 4 basic ones I would use. This come at the end of the exercise routine after the warm-up routine is done. These are kind of the last ones that we end up with because of the most dynamic, right, most stretchy, and you know, require the most flexibility as far as you know, muscle tissue is concerned. So you want to do these kind of last. Make sure you're very warmed up and you know what you're doing before you start swinging your leg around with any type of speed. All right, so just watching me first, I'm going to go through 4 different series of movements. Trying to keep that leg straight, toe flexed. You can extend this leg down and drop it down if you have a little bit more hamstring flexibility. Again, keeping both legs straight, trying not to let this bottom leg here swing. It's hard on this floor. Nice and slow. Again, keeping both legs very straight. So these active dynamic stretches, these basic stretches, I've been doing for about 10 years now, and they are in every warm-up I ever do with almost every client, you know, barring any limitations they may have. There's a lot of different variations for all of these exercises, right? These are just some of the basics that you're going to want to do. Like I said, there's a ton of different variations depending on what you're trying to accomplish, and you would do that appropriately given the scenario or situation for the athlete or client. All right, guys, the reason why I demonstrate some of those exercises today is to really drive home the importance of doing some type of warm-up and having some type of warm-up routine. It doesn't have to be super elaborate. If you don't talk about the warm-up and you don't explain it and you know what you're doing, it can be as short as 10 minutes long, even doing those movements every day. And then you can build off of that structure, adding things in between to activate, say, glutes or hip flexors or hamstrings, depending on what you want to do. And you would normally do that. I just didn't want to demonstrate all that today. But you would use that template that I just gave you almost in that exact order to, again, prep for every especially lower body activity. There's a whole series of upper body as well. For every lower body activity you do in the gym, even if it was leg day at the gym, but especially if you're playing some type of open field sport or any type of high school, college, professional sport, all right? So that active dynamic warm-up is key. The main piece there is that it's moving, right? You're not holding and doing a ton of static stretches unless that's been prescribed to you by a PT or somebody who knows your body. That being said, you never know the injuries you prevent, right? So that's why we warm up. We never know those injuries we've avoided that day by coming into the gym tight or coming out to the field tight and not hitting that warm-up, not going through that checklist to prep your body appropriately. Be consistent and master the fundamentals, and you'll be successful.